So my right ovary was gone because it was now a massive tumor. And my left ovary, we had to take out like about 2/3 of it. So I was very, very, very lucky. And I was diagnosed from that, from examining the tissue that was removed. I was stage 4, which means, the cancer has spread to other organs.
You're listening to the MILF Podcast. This is the show where we talk about motherhood and sexuality with amazing women with fascinating stories to share on the joys of being a MILF. Now here's your host, the MILFiest MILF I know, Jennifer Tracy.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. This is MILF Podcast, the show where we talk about motherhood, entrepreneurship, sexuality, and everything in between. I'm Jennifer Tracy, your host. Thanks for joining us. Today on the show, I have Miss Cobie Smulders. I can't even begin to explain how excited I am to be able to say that because she was one of the first 3 people that I called when I knew I was going to be doing this. And because she's such a busy, badass baller MILF, it took us this many months to finally hook up and get it going. But we did, and we had an amazing conversation. Cobie is an extraordinary woman, an extraordinary human being, and she has such a big heart, and I just can't wait to share this talk with you guys. So enjoy my conversation with Cobie Smulders. Hi, Cobie.
Hi. It's hard for me not to talk in the microphone like I'm about to do an announcement.
Go ahead and make an announcement.
Hi there, it's Cobie Smulders here to talk to you about Wheaties. I grew up with a mother who was British, and I don't know if that's why she's British, because this has happened because she was British, but she had the radio on all the time to like CBC News Radio. So that might be why that I feel like
you have
if you're
radio. It's
talking,
just in your
it should be in
official
sort of a newscastery voice.
Should we do the whole interview in the newscastery voice?
Close to the mic.
That low,
slowly
soft
and
voice coming through to you.
Live from our bedroom studio in the Pacific Palisades.
It's Cobie and Jen.
Cobie and Jen. We have to have it. We also have to have a jingle. Cobie and Jen. Talking about mom stuff. There we go. I just did it for you. You could just use that, loop that in every time. It's going to be great.
The whole bit.
It's going to be great.
So you're from Canada.
That is a truth fact. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Grew up in Canada.
Yeah.
Did you always want to be an actor?
I think subconsciously I did. It wasn't until, I became an actor and people started asking me like, did you always want to become an actor? What made you want to become an actor? And I remember, I don't have a ton of memories from my childhood, but I do remember like talking very passionately to my mirror a lot, and pretending to be talking to a boyfriend or someone I was really mad at.
I still do that.
You do? Does it work? Is it therapeutic?
I don't know. Or it's crazy.
It was a little like it was. I was very passionate. I was very intense, but I wasn't allowed to express it in my household. I had a very strict father, and I won't go into my mom, but I didn't feel like the freedom to really express myself in that way, and not because it wasn't really allowed. It just wasn't our vibe. It wasn't, we're not sitting around the kitchen table, expressing ourselves or having opinions about anything. It wasn't modeled for you. No. Yeah. It was still a lovely childhood, but I had all these feelings. And I think the way that I dealt with them was internally, and in a way sort of created these fantasy-like situations, which now, like as an actor, I'm going, oh, that's why I sort of was interested in this, is because it was an escape and it was a way to pretend to be another person and to have another experience. And but I think that's sort of what cultivated it subconsciously. I did theater in high school, and then I don't know why but I was modeling at the time. You know, it's like when you live in a small town, you're like, how do I get out?
Sure. I did the same
What's
thing.
my ticket out?
Totally.
Okay, my face. I'm going to cash in on this face and just ride it for as long as I can. And I was never successful, but I was able to, you know, go to Japan and Paris and Milan and New York. You did too, right?
I didn't go to all those places,
Right.
but in fact, I was signed up to go to Japan the summer of my 15th birthday, and we'd gotten my work permits and everything. And like, you know, I'd gotten this contract, and then my agent in Denver called me, Jay, I remember, this really sweet man. And he was like, so you're not going to, it was like the day before I was supposed to leave. You're not going to Japan because they shut it down because they were having some child labor issues. Later learned that like they were starving these poor American teenage girls and like working them like 18 hours.
Yeah,
and
you're lucky you did not go to Tokyo. Can I tell you?
So you did it. Did you have a similar?
mean, I wasn't starved, but I was definitely, it was a similar thing. And I think anyone who's listening who has a teenage daughter, don't send them to Tokyo. I don't know how it is now, but it's this weird thing where I had like a contract, which it seems like you did too.
Yes.
Had this
a lot of money.
Permit. Yeah. They were like, we'll pay you $20,000, which I was like, this is, I've just won the lottery.
Yeah, totally.
I've just fucking made it.
Totally.
20 grand, go to Tokyo, 2 months. I brought my older stepsister with me. And we got there. It's such a it's so confusing culturally, especially when you're like 16. All you want to do is like the things you know. Right. You're not really open to like experiencing another culture, right? You're like, where's my hamburgers? Why is everyone staring at me?
Yeah.
You know, you're sort of in this awkward phase of your development.
Yes.
And I got there. And I mean, I was just, I really the loser in this situation was my stepsister, who stayed in this studio bedroom model's apartment.
With bunk beds, right?
Not bunk beds. They were beds on the floor, which I think might be a step up from bunk beds.
Right.
But still studio apartment, right? In Roppongi, which was like the club district of Tokyo. It still is, I'm sure. And I would leave at like 7 a.m. and do castings all day until like 7 p.m. Yeah. And she would stay in this putrid model's apartment all day.
Oh, poor thing.
And we were trying not to spend any money because they were giving us, you know, $200 a week each to live off of. And it was the only money we were technically making.
Sure.
But it was a weird experience, not only from just, I find modeling to be very strange anyway, but like it was a very weird experience from an emotional, I remember going into these rooms and like, you're in this business room, you're in this conference room, and there was, you know, 8 Japanese businessmen, and you're standing there like, hey, what's up, guys? And there's, you know, whoever your translator is who's with you on all these things. And he says, you know, in Japanese, this is Cobie. She is 5'8". She weighs 130 pounds. She is Canadian. And then they're like, I vividly remember, they're like, okay, show us 3 poses.
Wow.
And I just, I mean, I could do it for, you can't hear
like
it, but it was so weird, and you're so on the spot, and you can't stand up and talk for yourself because they're not going to understand you.
Right.
So you can't advocate for yourself in any way. And what happened to us was, because it's a crock, the whole fucking thing, is that my contract was for 2 months, and I then read the fine print, which is, you know, you have to pay us back all of your flights ×2 for me and my sister, your accommodation, every copy we make of a picture, your $200 a week that we give you, you have to pay all that back before you get anything. But and also if you gain, what was it? It was like, if you gain an inch on your waist or on your hips,
that.
we have the right to send you home.
I remember that.
So I think that's where the starvation thing came from. I mean, I was trying to save money, so I was living on ramen, which I'm surprised I didn't gain like a ton of weight because I was just eating
all carbs,
just carbs, the cheapest carbs possible. But they sent me home after 6 weeks because I wasn't very successful, and they didn't pay me any money. So we'd gotten maybe $1,000 out of saving,
the per diem
per diems, and we split like 500 each and just called it a day. We were so happy to get out of there.
I bet.
We were so happy to just finally leave.
Yeah.
I'm dying to go back to that country to see it from a different perspective and see it and appreciate it, but I haven't had the opportunity yet.
Wow. And you were 16.
Yeah.
Did you continue modeling when you got back to Canada?
I did. You would think that would tank it for me, but no. I'm a winner. So I went back to Canada. I graduated high school, right? And literally within the next couple of days, I moved to New York City and was in New York City trying to model. And that's when sort of acting came in. I was meeting a lot of actors. I was going to a lot of theater I could afford. And I really stayed in New York because I had a boyfriend there for a while. And then I went to Paris for a while, and I went to Italy. And when I was in Italy, I said, I need to stop because it got a little like I was partying so much.
Yeah.
And granted, I'm 20 years old. Like you should be partying and you should be doing all this stuff.
But it's at a level in that realm. It's at a level that's a little scary.
It's a little scary, and you're not grounded in any way to anything. And I'm not working towards any goal, any career goal here.
Right.
So it was a way to sort of vacation for free.
Yeah.
That's what it turned into. And I said, okay, I think I need to go to university. So I actually went back to Vancouver and enrolled at the University of Victoria to study marine biology. And then summer,
I thought I was going to study marine biology. That's
you
so
did?
funny. I was going to go to a school in Florida and study marine biology, but I went to New York to be a model instead, and then I ended up studying communications later.
I feel like there's a lot of women who are like, I want to
pet the dolphins.
I want to be a marine biologist, but I was more, and still am. I'm like, what's up with that coral polyp over there? It's so weird. And like, I'm very much a detail person. So I'll go scuba diving and I'll just like stare at like algae for 10 minutes. Like, wow.
Yeah.
How does this look at this diverse like ecosystem over here? I was set on that path. And then I just spent the summer. I tried to like get into a modeling agency in Vancouver to be like, I'm broke.
Yeah.
I need to make money. Is there any opportunities here while I'm also working in restaurants and stuff? And through that agency, met a bunch of actors. I was like, these guys are super cool.
Yeah.
I want to hang out with these guys. So through that, I just said, okay, I'll do a year of this. And I just am so lucky, really. Because I think within that next year, I did this really weird series, and we shot it in Toronto. It was called Veritas: The Quest. And I was 19 years old.
Oh my gosh.
And I was playing like a 29-year-old archaeologist. Someone super smart.
That's really cool.
Didn't even go to college. He was about to and said, nah. So that was interesting. And then did that for I think we did 13 episodes of that. And then we did not get picked up. And then kind of just had a rough 2 years of not working and working in restaurants and
in Vancouver
and working for my mom's business, which involved me like going to people's, like, it was like, this is a weird story, but I'm going off the path, but it's worth it.
That's okay. Let's do it.
My mom worked at this. It's like a very small version of Geek Squad from Best Buy.
Okay.
So it was like her and two dudes in like an office building. So because I couldn't afford my car at the time, took the bus an hour and a half to her office, borrowed her car, and drove to clients' houses picking up their super heavy computer equipment. You know, this is not just like the flappy laptops that it was like intense monitors.
Big monitors. Yeah.
Yes. And putting them in the trunk of her Honda Civic and taking them back to my mom. And my mom paid me $5 an hour.
Oh my God. And this is what, 2000 something?
2001.
Oh my gosh.
2? Yeah. I made it out of there, and then I started coming down here for pilot season, and then I booked How I Met Your Mother, and then I have been here in America ever since. In the land of America.
I remember we had the kids on a play date, and Cobie and I know each other because her oldest daughter and my son were in preschool together. And I was at a play date at your house, And I forget how it came up, but Taryn was telling me that he's like, yeah, and I had this ego about blah, blah, blah. Like, I forget what the story was. It was like how you guys were together and then you broke up, blah, blah, blah. But when you first met each other, he said that you were like, yeah, I booked this pilot. And he was on a show or booking a pilot. And he was like,
Yes.
yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
He was
Yes.
laughing at himself like, wow.
Yes, he was doing it was actually a great pilot, and it's where I met him for the first time. I met Taryn because one of our best friends and him did this pilot together. And it was with Bill Lawrence.
Oh, wow.
It's a great, so everything, all the boxes were ticked, and he was great in it. It was so funny. And so he had just shot that pilot, and I was going to go shoot How I Met Your Mother. And yeah, he was like, well, it's going to be really awkward when your show does not go and mine goes. And I was like, yeah, well, we'll figure it out. It's all good. I was mostly excited that because of the show, I got a work permit for 6 months.
Because of How I Met Your Mother?
Because I was like, yeah. And so, because I was, as a Canadian, only allowed to be here for a period of 3 months.
Right.
But with this, I could stay another 6 months.
Right.
So that was what I was most jazzed. I focus on the now.
I love it.
I don't know if the show's going to go, but I'm allowed to be here for 6 months. So that's exciting.
And how old were you at that time? 24?
I was 22.
Oh my.
I know. I got on that show when I was 22 years old. Yeah. I know. It's a lot. It's
a good deal, girl. That's awesome.
It's a great deal. It's a great deal. I say to, now I'm at that age where I'm like imparting wisdom.
Yes.
Whatever. I mean, I don't know how, worthy that is, but a lot of people are like, what do you do? What do you say to someone who wants to become an actor? And I think so much of it is luck. So much of it is just luck. But I also will say with that, it's like being prepared for that opportunity when someone taps you.
Yes. Which
you have to constantly kind of be prepared for.
Yes.
But so much of it is just luck.
Yeah.
I remember with How I Met Your Mother, I had met, I think I met the casting director, and then she was like, you got to meet Carter and Craig, who are our creators. And I went back and met them the next day, and I wasn't supposed to be in town at that time or something. There was something that if I hadn't met them at that time, it just
all lined
wouldn't
up.
have happened,
Yeah. So there was, I don't know the timeline, you're going to tell me, but you're working on the show. You are in love with Taryn. You guys are together.
Yes.
Okay.
Debatable, but yeah, I'm trying to make a negative joke, and I kind of stop myself because that's just a weird energy. No, I love my husband.
You guys are the
much.
Cutest couple. I
He's
love
the
you
best.
both very much. At what point did you start to think about motherhood, or was the health thing that happened first?
Yeah. So Jen is talking about the health thing because I had ovarian cancer when I was 25. Super fun. 25. Just when you're in the prime of your youth. Yeah, that hit first. And Taryn and I had been together for, maybe 2, coming on to 3 years at that point. And we were really solid, which I'm very grateful for, to have a partner to go through that with me. I'm sorry to him because he had to go through that with me. But I was grateful. Yeah, that hit, and I was diagnosed. I found, I can go through the whole thing so people can learn and hopefully never have these symptoms. But if you do, I felt sort of abdominal pressure. It's weird. I went in to see my gynecologist in December. I said, I feel weird. Something's off. She gave me a physical. She's like, I don't feel anything. I feel like everything's okay. There's nothing, that I should be knowing about genetically in your family. So I think you're good. And by February, or even end of January, I would lay down and there was a lump. And so I remember I was shooting this movie. What was it called? Yep. It was called Slammin' Salmon. And it was done by a lovely group of guys, the Broken Lizards. They're like a comedy. They do
sounds familiar.
They do the what's the cop? The Super Troopers.
Oh,
they
right.
Did Super Troopers.
Right.
They just recently did Super Troopers 2. So they were doing this we were doing this wackadoodle comedy, and in the middle of shooting, I was like, I got to get this checked out, and it was crazy. We were shooting crazy hours. So I went to on a Sunday to a clinic and just said, Doc, what do you think this is? can I get an ultrasound? I got an ultrasound and they were like, you need to talk to your gynecologist today.
Were you out of town? Were you on location?
No, I was here.
Okay.
Thankfully, I was here. That would have been very difficult. But I was here and went in to see my gynecologist. And even on the phone, she was like, Cobie, maybe it's a cyst. Maybe it's a fibroid. But this is nothing to worry about. You're 25 years old. Like there's nothing to worry about.
Wow.
So I went over and she gave me an ultrasound and she was just flummoxed. And then she recommended me to my oncologist.
She was flummoxed because she had been wrong.
She had been wrong and she had no idea how this could have happened to me.
Is that because statistically it's very unusual for such a young woman to get ovarian cancer? Okay.
Yes. And also I think it was like she just had done a physical exam,
right.
Right. And I'll get into my thoughts and theories about it now that I'm on the other side and have more education about it. But my gynecologist recommended this oncologist who is the lady that is the reason I have children. Her name is Dr. Alana Koss. She's at Cedars-Sinai. And she's like, we're doing surgery like in a couple of days. So like from diagnosis, I was maybe, on the table in a week, maybe a little bit more. And
at that point, did you know what the surgery was going to be? Were you wondering like, am I going to still have a uterus?
No.
Oh my God.
I mean, I was wondering. I had no idea.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Like what they said, we're going to try our best. But it was the tumor that I had was the size of a cantaloupe, if we're using fruit euphemisms.
Wow.
It was giant. So they couldn't tell on an ultrasound
where it ended and where the tissue would be clean.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they had to cut me open. So once they did it, and luckily, like I said, I had this amazing surgeon. They just had to remove the tumor and they had to remove half of the other. So my right ovary was gone because it was now a massive tumor. And my left ovary, we had to take out like about 2/3 of it. So yeah. So I was very, very, very lucky. And I was diagnosed from that, from examining the tissue that was removed. I was stage 4, which means, the cancer has spread to other organs. It has spread to lymphatic system. But it was the cancer was diagnosed to be this borderline type of tumor, which it acts very aggressively once it's attached, and it usually will keep attacking the same organ. So I was very lucky in that respect where this cancer had spread everywhere, but it hasn't started feeding anywhere else. So yeah, got through that and then had my first child like maybe a year after, maybe not. But even
you had
6
thought
months.
You weren't going to be able to have a child.
Yeah, exactly. So I was told that we would never be able to have kids naturally. So forget about birth control. And our first child was born. Yeah. So, which I'm so grateful for. So it was a very weird thing to go through mentally, emotionally, because I was getting into this zone. I was like, okay, I will be the godmom. I will be the cool aunt. Maybe we'll adopt.
Yeah.
Who I don't know, but this is not going to be.
And you were still so young that
I'm
was
so
like
young.
You thought.
Totally. I'm not having kids for 10 years anyway. Yeah, so, so I was kind of adjusting to this new reality of being a mom, where it's not going to be the way I thought it was going to be, which is we're going to get married and then maybe we'll have a couple of years of just traveling and then we'll have a baby. Maybe we'll have another one. Like I was getting comfortable with the idea of A, it might not happen. B, if it is going to happen, it's going to have to be scientifically altered to make it happen for us, or it's adoption, or it's some other version, which I was very open to. So it was, and then all of a sudden, boom, I was pregnant. So it really kind of took me a long time. I mean, it took me 9 months to get comfortable with the idea.
Thank God you had those 9 months.
I will say that Mother Nature is a very kind woman, because I think that 9 months of just preparing yourself
oh yeah,
is so nice.
Yeah.
and much needed. But it was just sort of like a 9 months of just emotionally, mentally adapting to that.
And then when you guys had your first daughter, were you both living in Los Angeles? Because I know much of the time you guys have to live. I mean, because you're both actors, you work.
Yes, looking back, of course, when you're able to look back on things, you go, oh, of course, that's how it was supposed to be. When you're in it, you're just going, I don't know if this is right.
Yeah.
This is crazy. There must be something better than what we're dealing with now.
Right.
And upon reflection, it's like, it's the most perfect scenario, which is I'm living in Los Angeles. I'm on a show that's extremely accommodating.
Thank God.
For a first-time mom. Taryn was in LA at the time. We had our first daughter, and then about a year and a half later, he got SNL, and he started doing the commute back and forth from New York, which was...
That's when I met you guys. Yeah. You were in the middle of that.
Yeah. It was fine. Like, it totally was fine.
You guys made it work.
We made it work, and we're both very independent people. And more than that, we're not very dependent people, which I think is more important to say because I think everybody's independently something. But I love being in a partnership with Taryn, but I don't feel like I need him to run my life the way I want to run it. I want him to be a part of my life, but I don't need him to help me make decisions and need him of course, I love him and I want all those things from him, but it's not like I don't feel less than without him.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
You don't have to have it to function. And
yeah. Which I think that and mostly that comes from insecurity, right? I think when you're extremely dependent on a partner, you're looking to fill some void in yourself, which you should figure that out.
Absolutely. Yes.
Because man, that's not good for nobody.
No, it doesn't work. No. It doesn't work. Yeah.
No. Yeah. So we were going back and forth, and then when I was done with How I Met Your Mother 9 years later, thank God for that show. God damn it, I love that show. We moved to New York because Taryn was still doing SNL, and then we had our second daughter in New York.
And then you're in New York, you're not on the show. You're in this different place in your life, and you're a mom of two girls. What was it like what? And I know you did a bunch of other, you don't stop working. You're not someone that just is like, I know you did some theater there. You did
I mean, when I got off the show, I certainly felt a need to do other things. I love that on How I Met Your Mother, it wasn't the same thing every week. Like, they enabled us to do other weird. I was a pop star in Canada, and I was, doing all these emotional arcs. My character on the show wasn't able to have kids, which is something I could kind of connect to. They made it interesting.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel like I was coming in and being like, Ralphie, put your toys away, like every week. I was doing interesting different things. But at the same time, I was just ready to do different roles. So I was able to shoot a couple independent films. And one of them was when I was pregnant with both of them were when I was pregnant, because I shot this movie called Results with Andrew Bajewski. In Austin, and I was playing a personal trainer, but I was pregnant, and I found out I was pregnant kind of when I got the job, and I said, listen, I am pregnant, and I can almost 100% guarantee I'm not going to show till I'm 6 months, because that's just like how I was with my first,
right?
And luckily he believed me, and luckily my child stayed in, tucked up in my ribs or something. So I shot that. And then the second movie I was able to shoot was playing a pregnant teacher in an inner city school in Chicago, where one of my students gets pregnant at the same time as I do. So I was able to do these projects, and again, synchronicity, right? They lined up okay with my personal life. That doesn't always happen, but it did for that period of time. And then we went to New York, pushed out the baby. Pushed her out. And then you're right. I don't, it's so fun. It's so it's funny when you get to sit and talk about yourself. You're like, shit, I've done a lot of stuff. I didn't even, you just so quickly forget about things, right?
Yes.
Because you're on to the next immediately. I think the hardest two things happened, which were like two of the biggest challenges in my life, which was the first one was my daughter was 6 months old and I was kind of getting out of the mommy fog. I was like, let's go back to work. Let's do this thing. And so I was set to shoot 2 movies in the Atlanta area in the South. One was in Atlanta. One was in, Charleston or something. So they were kind of in the South. Anyway, right before the night before I leave to go to shoot this independent, I break my leg.
Oh, I remember this. Oh yeah.
I fully break my leg, which is it was such a dumb thing. But
you did it here in LA.
No, I did it in New York.
You did it in New York.
I was in New York.
That's right.
I rushed home from this event I had to go to so I could put my kids to bed and be there for bedtime. And, I come in and I bust into my daughter's room and I pick on my eldest daughter and I swing her around and I'm like, I'm here. I get to kiss you goodnight, and I put her back into bed. And she goes, do it to daddy, do it to daddy. And I was like, no, okay. So I pick up Taryn and I fucking drop him on my leg. Oh. And I felt it. I felt like a pop.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my God. And I thought I had dislocated my knee. And so I was like, okay, we're okay. Taryn went out. He got like a little, one of those ace bandages. And I did that. Put some ice on it. And we're like, well, see how we feel in the morning. I'm leaving tomorrow morning with my 6-month-old to go to the swamps in the South somewhere. I literally can't remember exactly where we went. So I wake up and I'm like, okay, it's feeling like a little sore, but I'm walking. I'm putting weight on it.
Wow.
I'm walking, so it can't be broken, right? So I take my daughter to school, my older daughter to school. I come back, I pack up my baby in her car seat, and I go to pick her up, and it shifts me to the right, and I go, oh my God. And in that moment, I went, my leg is fucking broken.
Oh, God.
But I am going to shoot this independent, which, they're so screwed if I don't show up.
Right.
So I just go, I have to go do it. So I call, I say, listen, I just think I broke my leg. I'm coming, but I have to stop at an emergency room when I land the plane. When I get off the plane. And the hardest part of this whole thing was I get to the airport. I've got I've got the baby Bjorn on, got the bags. I get to the airport and I say, hi, I need a wheelchair. I need a wheelchair. Because I'm usually so stubborn. I'm like, let's just do this. It's fine. Yeah. But I know that this leg is broken.
Yeah.
Now something is very wrong by this point. And I say, I need a wheelchair. And they say, you can't ride in a wheelchair. You have a baby. We can't legally put you in a wheelchair. So I go, okay. They say, but after you go through security, we'll have that rover, that guy down waiting for you. I say, okay, amazing. Thank you so much. So I get through security, standing there. There's no rover. I don't know if anyone's been in the fucking Delta terminal of at JFK. It is, I get PTSD when I go back to this section of the airport. I can't go back. I won't go back to this place. But it is, so I'm looking around, there's just duty free everywhere. And I was like, I have to start walking. Oh. I'm not exaggerating. When it was half a mile, my gait was the very I've done this walk since, and it wasn't like I was in pain, and it felt like a greater distance than it was. It's a very fucking long way, even if you're just, normally walking.
Yes.
So I'm starting to walking, and now it's really bad. And I pull over and I go to a Delta desk and I say, can I get a wheelchair or the rover? And they say, it's going to take 30 minutes. And I said, well, my flight is leaving. So I walk this mile. I get on the plane. I land in Charleston, wherever we were. My nanny meets me at the airport. I immediately start crying because there's somebody finally helping me.
Yes.
That's my trigger. I'm like, you're going to help me? What?
Yes. Fall apart. Yes.
And then we immediately go to this doctor, this orthopedic surgeon who gives me an x-ray. He's like, your leg is broken. He's like, you have to be on crutches for 8 weeks.
You can't shoot a movie.
Well, I ended up shooting this movie.
You did?
And they wrote into the script that I just had crutches, which everyone was like, that was such an interesting choice. I was like, it was a mandatory decision for everyone involved on this project. Yeah. But then I was going to go from there to shoot a different, this HBO movie on Anita Hill, which was so fascinating and great. And I was like, I cannot, I'm barely getting through this. I can't do it. I was so upset about that. It was actually funny because shooting that movie was okay in terms of managing. I hope nobody ever has to go through this, being on crutches and like not being able to like pick up your new, like you can't get up in the middle of the night and go over and pick her up and bring her into bed with you. Like you can't do anything. It was horrible. But I had this, my wonderful nanny at the time was there with me and she did everything. Mm-hmm. And when I was at work, there were all these sweet young, kids, and it was their first movie and they were like helping me out. But when I went home is when I just went, I can't be a mom. I can't nurture my child. Like I can't be alone in my house.
Right.
And it was that was such a challenge. I was so, that was darker than cancer for me.
Interesting.
Which is really interesting.
That's saying something.
Because it was just like, you're totally helpless. You're totally helpless. And I don't like feeling that way. Even with cancer, I was at least like,
well, and you're helpless.
I could do stuff.
You're responsible for this other being's wellness and safety. And
it was horrible. And then from that, another challenge came after. Am I being boring or is this okay?
Are you kidding me?
Okay.
You're perfection. Don't ever stop.
I'm like monologuing.
You're right on target.
Here.
You're right on target.
The next challenge was I'm still on crutches and I get this call from agents or whatever, managers, and they're like, Edward Zwick wants to meet you. They're shooting this new action movie with Tom Cruise and he'd love to talk to you about it. And I was like, sure. I crutched my way over to Edward Zwick's to try to get an action movie.
And you booked it.
Well, inevitably, eventually I did, but I met with Ed and he's like, let's put something on tape. And I came back and I put something on tape and then they're like, do you want to go fly down and meet Tom Cruise? And at the whole time, I'm like, I'm not going to do this movie. I'm on crutches. I can't do this movie, And I'm finally off crutches by the time I fly to Florida to meet with Tom. And he's lovely. It's great. I get the part. And then I have to start training for 6 weeks. And I am in the weakest shape of, I've been, I might have like I don't know what muscles are like the crutches muscles, like the outer limbs of your body, like the outer arms, your shoulders. I don't know quite what, but I mean, the whole movie that I had to do was just running. And I was like, my leg was just atrophied.
Sure, of course. So you're starting from scratch.
So I'm starting from scratch. We go to New Orleans for 6 months to shoot this movie. I still have this infant, guys. Still have this infant who's now, 8 months old, is living with me in New Orleans. Daughter's in New York. The other daughter's in New York with Taryn. I mean, it was just chaos. And that was like the final nail in the coffin of trying to do it all.
Yeah.
I said, it's not worth it. It's affecting my health. I even literally remember like right before I left, or maybe a week before I broke my leg, I said something subconsciously to myself, which is like, I hope something happens and something falls apart and I can't do this. But what happened was something did happen and I made it more challenging for myself. Now, upon reflection, what I should have done was, legs broken. I cannot do your movie, guys. I have a fucking 6-month-old baby.
Right.
I'm not coming. But it is my default to go above and beyond for other people, but not for myself. And that is a fault I had to sort of.
You didn't want to disappoint them?
I didn't want to disappoint them. I knew, and I am glad that I did it. Like I had a lot of fun and I made really great friends. Yeah, I just didn't want to disappoint them. I knew that they were going to be really screwed if I didn't show up. They would have had to stop production for like, I don't know what they would have had to do.
Yeah.
It would have been really terrible.
Yeah.
So I knew that was really going to be a horrible thing for them to figure out. It's not my fault.
Right.
It happened. You know what I mean? But to hold that guilt, I couldn't handle holding that guilt, which is something else I had to confront. So now it's like, it's really interesting even talking about this stuff, which is stuff I haven't thought about for a long time. But that was really the end of, I can't do it all. And I really have to. There was something that I read. I don't know if I read or someone was just talking about it, that there's like four things in your life, and you can only do 3 of them. And one is always being sacrificed. And it's like health, career, relationship, or friendships. And it's like 3 of those is the max that you can do. So one of those things is always
suffering a
sort
little
of,
bit.
on the outskirts, and it's not getting the attention it deserves.
Yeah.
And whenever I think about that, I go, I haven't talked to my friends in so long.
Yeah.
You know, or like, God, how's Taryn doing? Do you know what I mean? Or I break my fucking leg, you know, or I get sick, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that was something that stuck with me. I can't remember where I read it, but it was very true, where it's like, you have to be conscious of priority. And I think, you know, you and I are now both moms, and it's like, that's the priority right now. Maybe when they're off at college, it's like me and my husband are going to be traveling around the world or something. I don't know, but it's right now, that's
number
the focus.
one. Yeah. Wow. So you kind of had this turning point for yourself as a mom, as a woman, as a human, and then you came back to New York.
Yeah.
And what were sort of the next steps for you? Was Taryn still on SNL at that time?
Taryn was still, when I came back from New Orleans, he was finishing up his last year. So I came back and was in New York, and this movie had happened. And then I think it was, I'm confused by the timeline of things right now. I got to do a play in New York.
Right.
Which was a huge thing, but I don't think it happened right after that. I think there is something in between that I can't quite remember right now. But I came back, and I in New York, because the whole time I'm in New York City, like, I have to do my greatest dream as a performer.
Yeah.
Was to be on stage on Broadway. And I had auditioned, and I had so many auditions, so many like begging, like I was trying so hard, and it was this very interesting thing of perception of I don't know if it was the theater community that was like, she was a sitcom actress, she's not gonna be good on stage. I don't know what it was, but it was so hard for me to be taken seriously, maybe, or I don't know. But finally, I got to audition for this play, Present Laughter, and it was really weird because I was shooting. Oh, that's what happened. I shot the first season of this Netflix show, Friends from College. So we're in New York shooting this show. It's going great, having a great time, and then I get this audition, and I'm just like so stoked about it. So I get the audition. I'm studying a massive amount of lines. Whenever you do like theater or play auditions, it's just, 20 pages of just so much dialogue, as it should be, because it's a play and you should know your shit. But I'm learning all this stuff, and I'm learning it. And this is the night of the election.
Oh my God.
This is the night of fucking, we think, Hillary Clinton, first woman president. We're like in New York City going, this is such an amazing night. This is going to be a historic moment.
I flew into New York the next day.
Oh, you
and
did?
Everybody was walking around New York City just like with their chests and their heads hanging low. And
it was fascinating because there's all this stuff going, but I'm like, I have this. I have to nail this. This is my dream.
Yes,
this is my dream.
Yes,
I'm running these lines, and the election's like going towards Donald Trump.
You're watching
and I'm like,
all the
I
red
can't
on the screen. Yeah.
I can't even go there. I can't even go there. I remember going to bed that night at an early-ish hour at like 10, and Taryn's like, I have to stay up and see what, like, they're still calculating votes in fucking Florida or something. And I said, I have to go to bed. I'm going to bed. And woke up, and he had won. And I'm still like, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna I'm not going to go to that place. And I went into this audition and everyone was just like, we spent the first 20 minutes just like talking about it. So it was in fact the greatest time to audition, because if you're able to kind of keep it together and you're professional and you're able to like really do this, then it's great. So we did this wonderful 6-week run of this play, and it was magic. It was so much fun. So that was a big accomplishment. And I felt for the very first time quite like satiated, which I am usually when I'm halfway through a job going, what's next? What am I doing next?
Yeah.
And during this, I was happy to just chill out for a while after that. So it was really great.
That's so awesome. And what was the best part of it, being on the show in that play? Getting to go to the theater every day?
I mean, I think it was really the best fit for my life because it was, first of all, it's such a weird, like, little thing, but the play starts at 8, it's done by 11. And some nights you're doing a 7:00 show, so you're home by 10. So, obviously some nights I would go out after or whatever, but most of the time I would be able to get a 7-hour night's sleep, get up with the kids, take one kid to school, come home, baby naps, you're napping, and then you get up and you go to the theater at night. You get to pick up from school, go to the theater at night. I mean, it's so creatively fulfilling, where I think that if you are on set, every day is not like, wow, that was a great moment. It's just you're trying to get your scenes, and you're trying to get the work done. And you're trying to get you're trying to do like, exterior shots of you walking down the street or whatever it's going to be. It's not always creatively fulfilling. But this was every night. It was, you didn't know what it was going to be. And it was this interesting sort of rhythm of so excited. I can't believe this play is happening. I'm on stage. Do I know I'm doing a British accent? Do I know all my lines? Am I doing this? And am I hitting all the things they told me to hit? Am I blocking? So it's very exciting. Then it comes out. Then it's successful. People like review it well. Then you're like, we're great. We're off to the races. And then this weird thing happened. I mean, I don't want to generalize it because everybody I'm sure has a different experience. But then like in the middle of it, you hit this place which for me was, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't think I'm going to remember any of my lines. At this point, your lines.
Right.
Like at this point,
it's part of you.
It's become so familiar. But there's this, I hit this place of, I don't know what I'm after here. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to totally freeze on stage. And I only kind of lost it once.
Yeah.
Like, and I just made something else up.
Yeah.
And because I was
nobody
working
noticed.
with Kevin Klein,
right?
You just said something else,
out.
And we found our way back. But it was, it was terrifying for I want to say 2 weeks, and then it kind of came back, and then it was so fun for the rest. Then I had maybe like 4 weeks left, and it was wonderful. Yeah. But I miss it. I try to, the theater community is not as big out here, but I would love to get back on stage, but I can't. The thing about me being in New York City and desperately wanting to do a play is because I knew I was only going to be there for 3 years. And I can't like pick up my family and move to New York to do a play for 6 to 8 months and then move back. It's just the way our life is now. Our kids are too old
in school. Once they're in elementary school, it's
but
a whole
also like
deal.
when they have friendships and they have
all of it. Yeah,
they're going through their own stuff. You can't just pick them up and take them anywhere anymore.
Yeah. So you guys are back in LA. I'm so happy.
California. That I could have done so many things that were actually like California. That would have made sense, but I just made my own.
I liked that you made
California.
Your own. And I heard in your rendition, I heard 2 or 3 different songs.
Okay,
there was like a Beach Boys in there. Then
Yeah.
there was California. Then there was a little, even like a little LL Cool J.
Yeah.
There was a lot.
Okay,
It was
cool.
layered.
Okay, cool.
And had depth.
Got it. Great.
I want to ask you like a couple more questions that I've been thinking about while you're talking. And just also like, just to say that I adore you.
Oh,
and
you're so
I just
sweet. I
adore you as a
you.
person.
Well,
and
thank you.
You're always so welcoming and warm. And I really appreciate that about
thank
you.
you.
And also one time someone told us that we looked like sisters, and I'm taking that
Ooh.
straight to
I'm
the
taking
bank.
that to the bank. I just deposited that in my self-esteem. So thank you for that. I feel like you look like, I'm looking at you right now and you look like Linda Evangelista.
Oh, people, especially with my short hair, a lot of people say that now. Yeah. Thank you.
Who is also Canadian.
Thank you. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. So maybe you were in another life.
Yes.
A Canadian.
Eh?
Yeah. Yay.
So I wanted to ask you about being a woman in Hollywood and in the arts.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen, since you started doing this, you know, when you were a teenager, really, as a model, have you seen a change with all the things that are happening now? Obviously, the Me Too movement, the gender equality happening, the 50% pledge. Or am I saying that right? 50% pledge? I think I am. Where they're trying to hire more female, at least 50% of crew is female. Are you seeing that change? Have you seen it change over time?
Yeah, huge. I would say it's as you're talking, I'm thinking of it in two ways, which is personally, and then just surveying it as it's happening. I think it's personally, you know, we just said I started How I Met Your Mother when I was 22.
Yeah.
I have grown up a lot.
Yeah.
And have learned how to advocate for myself, and knowing what I want and knowing what I'm good at and how to say that I'm good at these things and have confidence in that, which took me a long time and still working on, obviously. So I think in terms of the female movement, I have sort of grown with that and am really benefiting from this current situation, which I do think that there has been a huge stride. Again, when I think from a personal level, just in conversations, being listened to more, being taken more seriously, being let into rooms that I wasn't allowed to be in before. And again, I don't know if that's how it is now. People are trying to be more inclusive, or if that is just, you know, because of my resume, I am entitled to walk through these doors now. I don't know what
Probably
that is.
both.
Probably both.
Guess, yeah.
But I will say, as growing up, from somebody who's grown up watching TV, being on a major television show, and looking at TV now, where there is a member of each cast is different.
Yes.
That you get to see different faces on TV.
Yeah.
You get to even this, what my friend Gloria Calderon-Kellett, she show runs One Day at a Time.
Oh yeah.
This is a show where the teenage daughter has come out on television. We are talking, this season they had her losing her virginity.
Wow.
This teenage daughter losing her virginity to another girl on
awesome.
And dealing with not only like, should we be doing this?
Right.
But they're girls.
Yes.
And they're dealing with the same stuff that a boy and girl would be, that would be on a sitcom, you know, whatever, 10 years ago. But these are two girls and they're dealing with the same stuff. And it's normalizing that.
Yes. Yes.
And I think that is one of the greatest gifts of this industry, is being able to reach the world and going, this is normal. If these two people are talking about gay sex,
yes,
that's normal.
Yes.
It's totally normal to talk about that. We don't have to pretend that it's taboo. We don't have to hide. We don't have to, these topics, we don't have to be embarrassed by them. Yes. We don't have to think that they're wrong. We don't, I think that is one of the greatest gifts that we can give back to the world as actors, as writers, as producers, as directors. I think that is sort of what our meaning is. Yeah. You know, it's always like, I just became an actor so I can make people laugh, or I want to make people feel. It's like, no, it is this weird thing where you are pop culture.
Yeah.
You are on things that become pop culture.
Yeah.
So what can you sprinkle in there?
Yeah.
When you can. Yeah. And now we're seeing that you're not even have to sprinkle it things anymore. Yes. You're just going to talk about them. And you're just going to see couples that look different from couples that were on TV 10 years ago.
Yeah.
that is one of the greatest changes. And I think that's because there has been, I mean, thank God for Donald Trump. That's what I say.
Yeah.
You know, this is that. I think that is the greatest thing to come out of this presidency.
True. He's spurned on a lot of this reaction.
Is having us look at and me looking at myself and us all looking at when there is so much negativity happening
and misogyny and
you go, you know, you look at all of these men who have gone down because like you can't do that shit anymore.
Yeah.
You can't do that shit anymore because you're powerful.
Yeah.
And it's really, I'm really grateful to these women who have come forward and talked about it and women who continue to come forward to talk about it, because it's just, we just have to, I'm thinking right now, like, and again, I think it's because I'm like, you know, I'm 36, which, you know, isn't too old, but you're old enough where you're going, what's the point? What can I be doing? And especially now, it's like, what good can I be putting out there? There's so much negativity. What can I do? What candle can I light to shine a little bit of good?
Yeah.
Minimum, being a good mom.
Yeah.
Okay. Putting good children, good human beings who are going to have empathy.
Yes.
We're going to treat others with respect, who are going to, you know, advocate for themselves, who are going to be strong women. Okay. And then it's community. And I'm working a lot with this great organization. I'm going to plug it right now called Save the Children, who work in America and all across the world. And then it's like through work, it's like choosing projects that I hope some impact. Obviously, I don't have like full control over my next paycheck, where that's going to come from. I like to be involved. I tend to get these roles, and I don't know why, because I don't really consider myself like a tough broad. I'm constantly apologizing. I apologize too much. That's my Canadianness. But, you know, I got to play like Maria Hill in all the Avengers movies, and I got to play, you know, the Susan Turner in that Tom Cruise movie. He's an ex-military. And I like portraying women as not only women who are tough, but also that they're doing the same jobs that men do.
Yes.
It's all about visuals, right?
Yeah.
It is a really fascinating thing, and I don't watch a lot of TV now, unfortunately. But whenever I tune back in, like I saw my friend's show.
Yeah.
It's like, is this what's on TV right now? Are we just straight up talking about this now? That is so incredible.
It's huge growth. No, it's huge growth. Yeah.
I remember we were on How I Met Your Mother on CBS. I mean, we were talking about drugs. We would do like all these sneaky tricks because it was an 8:00 show.
Right.
You know, on a Monday night. And kids were watching, so we would have to be sneaky, and we couldn't do certain things, and it was just so much more. I don't know. It was not controlled, isn't the right word, but it was just
censored.
It was seen from one perspective.
Right.
And now I think people are going, there's not just one perspective.
Yes. Yes.
And that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is exciting. As you're talking, I'm flashing to driving my son to the bus stop the other day. Because you're talking about what, like, messaging. What's the messaging we're giving to our young girls and boys? And you know, we live in LA. I live in Hollywood, West Hollywood, and there's a lot of billboards. It's kind of like Vegas over there.
Yeah, totally.
And there's this billboard for Wet Republic, which is a pool in Las Vegas at a hotel, right?
Wear their bikinis.
Oh yeah.
Shocking.
And they always have these billboards that don't really make sense. And it's so interesting to hear what he thinks of them. And he says about this one, there's on one side of the billboard, there's girls in bikinis popping champagne bottles. And on the other side, they're behind an army tank that's shooting out bottles. I think it's shooting out bottles of champagne. I'm not sure. And they're like,
from the tank? The tank is
so.
shooting out bottles of champagne?
I think so. I might be making that part up, but they're in an army tank. And my son is obsessed. He's a history buff. He's obsessed with World War II, World War I. He's really into learning and now reading about it. And he has all the army toys and all this. He's 9.5. And he goes, why are they wearing bikinis in the tank? That's not smart. Like, that doesn't make sense. What is that? What is that? I'm like, well, it's an advertisement for a pool. And he goes, well, why do they have a tank at a pool? Like, to him, it's just like, he understands that they're being sexualized because we talk about that.
Right.
But it's just like, well, that's stupid. Like,
that makes zero sense.
And I said, well, I think they're marketing to, you know, men 17 to 34 who want to see women in bikinis. That's
bikinis
probably a thing.
Much more comfortable, I think.
Totally.
I feel like they would be like animal hair. That's in my mind. And they're wearing Birkenstocks. So it's actually a little bit more.
Burqa.
Or a burqa. Much better. I take that over the bikini.
So I said they're probably marketing to men who want to see, I'm guessing, women in bikinis and like men stuff. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. And he was like, that's stupid. That's stupid,
That's wonderful to hear.
But that's the messaging that's,
I'm surprised that's still on a billboard, actually. I'm surprised that is still
really sad and offensive. And I always think of those young girls that are the models.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was never up for that kind of job, but like, I just remember being in New York and the same what you're talking about, and that pressure of, fit yourself into this box and, be like this and, don't eat that. And I just was suffocating over time. It just wasn't me. I mean, I didn't last in New York very long. I was there for, I think, 3 months. And then I was begging to go back to college because I just couldn't handle it. I was like, this is not me.
Yeah.
But so I think we've come to the time where I'm going to ask you my 3 questions.
Lightning round.
Yes. Lightning round. Okay. So 3 questions and then we'll go into the silly, fun questions.
Okay.
What do you think about, Cobie, when you hear the word MILF?
Mom, I'd like to fuck. Yeah. Is that from an American Pie movie?
Okay. This is
that
such a great
origin?
Question. Yes and no, because I had to really kind of delve into this. That is the first time it was in pop culture that wasn't porn, but it is actually a porn genre.
Oh, okay.
That's where it became.
Like people are into
name.
that and you can just Google that. And
yes.
That's a thing. Wow.
Yes. And it's very interesting because on my Instagram, the podcast Instagram, sometimes I'll get tagged on an Instagram photo that's like it's not quite porn because they're on Instagram, so they have to be careful about it. Yeah. But it's like there's so much of it out there. And I get like some people, like total strangers will DM me and you can see the request and it'll just be some dude with like no name on his thing. And a picture of his eye, and it says like DZ 578 or whatever, and then it's like send nudes. It says
send nudes,
and I'm like, did you read? Are you getting? It's just probably stabbing in the dark of like, let me send this to like 100 women and see if I can get something back.
Well, that's certainly something. I mean, The Graduate. It's been something that's been sexualized for a long time.
Yes,
and I don't know. I mean, I'm not surprised that it's something that is in pornography, but I'm surprised that it's such a huge thing if it's its own thing.
Yeah.
I remember it. MILF to me is more like a cougar. There was like a movement. I don't know when it's happened where older women who had like teenage sons were like vying on their teenage sons' friends. And that became a whole thing.
Yes.
But I'm sure it's something that's been in history.
Oh, yeah.
As well.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I love that you mentioned The Graduate. That's such a classic.
It is such a classic. She's a classic MILF.
She's a classic MILF.
Yeah. But that is sadly the first thing. I mean, sadly, because I like the way you're doing it.
Yeah.
Mom, I'd like to follow.
I just want to reclaim it and make it. Yeah. Because I do also think for me, part of my journey was I didn't feel like I could or even wanted to be sexy or sexual after I had my son because I struggled with postpartum and I was like alone with him. Like that thing that you felt after you finished the movie and you were on the crutches and you came home and you couldn't lift up your baby. Like that was, for me, that describes my postpartum for 2 years after he was born. Like every day felt like that to me.
Yeah.
In a way, I wasn't on crutches, so I wasn't like handicapped in that way, but emotionally, I just felt so trapped and so tortured. So anyway, so once I started to reclaim my sexuality and be like, oh, wait, I'm not a throwaway because I'm 40 and sexual and a woman. So let's talk about that, Can
I know we're in like lightning round section, but I want to speak to something that I've been thinking about a lot because I've been talking a lot about ovarian cancer lately and like spreading awareness about it and making women just advocate for themselves more in terms of to their doctors and stuff. But I've been thinking a lot about trying to think of the right way to say it, but the way that we teach our girls about puberty.
Yes.
About menstruation, about I mean, I remember it was like, hide your tampons, have a little secret pouch in your backpack.
Yeah.
And you put your tampons in there and no one's supposed to know. Hide your birth control pills.
Right.
Like, keep that. Like, why are we hiding everything? The reason we're having periods is so the human race can fucking make more babies.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with this, speaking to this
Yes.
about like, why do you, after having a baby, or why do you need to have a baby? Like, some women go like, if I'm not a mother, then what kind of a woman am I? You know, like, why do we have to associate these things with our worth?
Yes.
And obviously there's history, like that used to be what we did. That's it. That was our function.
Yeah.
But now we're coming into a place where we're finally we're allowed to do that because people are providing us support. If you can have maternity leave, if you can do this stuff.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting thing. There's like a stigma, right? And I don't know where that comes specifically to you in terms of, I'm not sexual anymore. I've had my baby. I don't need to have sex anymore because I've already made a baby,
Right.
I don't know where these stigmas come from, but they are stigmas.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's through in our society. I don't know.
I think it's through a lot. I think it's through, like you were saying earlier about TV shows and pop culture and stories and books. And for me, there used to be this, sort of June Cleaver idea of like, oh, well, June Cleaver's not having sex. She's sleeping in her twin bed. Like, once you become a mom, it's just not proper for you to be for you can't let
or you're a MILF.
Right.
It's the extremes,
it's either or.
There's no fucking
You're
middle
a virgin
ground.
or a whore. You can't be both. And the fact is, we're all both. We're all, the virgin, the whore, the Lilith, the crone, like that's all mixed in. And that's just all part of the fluidity of being feminine.
Yeah.
That too. And I also like you're saying about the menstrual, my son, since he understood anything, like he knows when I'm on my period, he knows what it is, he knows what a tampon is. In fact, we have this joke, like he'll be in my purse and he'll be like, look, a chocolate bar, and he pulls out the tampon, like he thinks that's hilarious. So there's no like, ew, a tampon, or it's like and for me that's important too, to teach our boys.
There was an interesting thing that just happened at my kids' school, which was they were like, we're going to do the puberty tuck this year. And, we don't really we might later in the year bring out tampons and we'll take maybe we've split the groups up before into girls and boys. And all the parents were like, no, don't split them up. Don't make it seem like it's a secret hidden thing. The girls are going to be embarrassed no matter what. They're going to be so humiliated as soon as the tampon comes up. Like, don't worry about that. But to have the boys also see it and go like, oh, this is just a thing that has to happen, guys. This is just a thing that we're going to be doing every month and no big deal. And I think it's starting there. And equalizing it in a way. And same with going back to ovarian cancer. I think a lot of women are like embarrassed to go, it hurts when I have sex. I feel bloated. And it's also it's so tied in with menstrual symptoms in terms of bloating, cramping, pressure, all that stuff is like, well, it's just my period or whatever. Do you know that here's the thing that like blew my mind is that only until recently was ovarian cancer diagnosed as ovarian cancer and uterine cancer and cervical cancer. Like it was maybe something like 15 years ago. And before then it was just like stomach cancer.
You're kidding.
Like they wouldn't even attach it to like the female organ. They just said like, oh, it's stomach cancer.
Because they didn't want to say uterus.
Or I don't know if they didn't want to say, or I don't quite know. But it's something that I sat with this group of women who either had gone through cancers or had someone very close to them who had been affected. Somebody's mom had stomach cancer, but it was actually ovarian cancer.
Wow.
So now we're getting to this place of like genetics, right? Where you can have these certain genes and be predisposed for breast, ovarian, whatever.
Yeah.
And to like, there's a majority of women who weren't even given the correct diagnosis. And I don't know why. I mean, that's a while ago.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, I don't know exactly when they said, no, this isn't stomach. This is maybe it was longer than 15 years ago. But that was fascinating that just this last generation.
Yes.
That this last generation of moms were like, he had stomach cancer. So not to know that history is really detrimental to this next one. And it is informed, I think, by this stigma.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question.
Next question. Sorry, that was very long.
No apologies. No apologies. What is something you've changed your mind about recently?
I don't know if this is an answer to that question, but it's speaking to me about something else that I, it was just like something that I've been working on. But
what's so interesting, Cobie, is that I ask all these questions of every guest who's ever been on the show. And you and the last 3 guests that I've interviewed in the last couple of weeks could not answer that question.
Really?
Just like,
well, I'm happy that I'm not alone, but I don't, because I don't.
It's interesting.
There's nothing that I consider myself pretty open-minded. So there's nothing that I've like flipped on.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I've been thinking a lot about perception. Something like recently happened to me, and somebody confronted me with something. And it spun me out so much because they confronted me with something that I didn't think that was true about myself. And I went, whoa. If they think that I'm this, am I that?
Right.
Because that's their perception of me.
Right.
And my actions.
Right.
Right. In reality, I think they were wrong. But it really made me go, I have to be a little bit more, and it is also speaking to what's happening in the world. I have to know my facts more. Yes. And I have to watch myself a little bit more carefully, which I haven't done on this podcast. I don't know what I've been saying. I've been saying a lot of different things.
That's not the point of the podcast. No, that's...
You could just say whatever you want. But it was sort of a recalibrating of, I think I need to, because I think I'm going to kind of go off on a tangent again, which I keep doing with you because I like you so much. I like talking to you so much. So you can edit all this shit out if you want. But I think it's speaking to how wrapped up you get in yourself, even more now.
Yeah.
Even more with social media and Instagram and I was listening to this amazing talk where it was, back in the day, and maybe still for some people it is, but it would be, these are the 10 commandments. Mm-hmm. This is what the king and the queen say you have to do. This is what the government and the president says. So you should do this, right?
Yes.
And that is kind of like in a gray area now. So what it's in its place is, well, I just felt that way.
Right.
Well, this is my feelings on that. So I'm entitled to act this way because I listen to my gut.
Yes.
And it's a really interesting time of, I totally believe in instincts and you got to listen to your gut, but you also have to take in the world around you in facts.
Yes. And other
because
people
that's just a chemical reaction
feelings.
In your brain.
Right. Exactly.
Right? And that's what's telling you to do that. So it's this society of me and what I think is right. And I'm just doing what I think is right. Okay. So I went into this, I spun out a little bit and I said, am I not taking in what's going on around me? Am I not who I think I am to some people? Right? Because I think I know who I am, but am I not, you can only have so much time for everybody and be your best self with a certain amount of people, but am I not, I don't know, it made me spin out a little bit.
Yeah.
And who am I to that person?
Yeah.
It was really weird and it kind of had to make me.
Did you come back around to yourself?
I came back around. I came back around, but it took me a while and it took me touching with other people that knew me really well to go, do I do this to you?
Yeah.
Am I this way to you?
Yeah.
And they're like, what are you fucking talking about? But it was this weird moment because, I think as moms, we get in this bubble sometimes.
Yes.
And all of a sudden you're like, holy, I haven't looked in the mirror in about 4 days.
Yes.
Nor have I showered.
Yes.
Nor have I had a moment to myself.
Yes.
So your perception of yourself is so, or yourself is so attached to these other beings and what they need and how you're helping them.
Yeah.
I remember when I was shooting this past season for Friends from College, I had to go to New York and I was traveling back and forth for 3 months. So I had a lot of time to myself. And it was this weird moment of, oh my God. First of all, it was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yay. I'm by myself in New York. I get to see my friends. I get to go out, stay out late. I get to live this life. But then it was my identity. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
My identity is so attached to being a mother, which is also your day-to-day routine. So when it shifts, it's weird. It's weird. That was not an answer to your question at all, but I haven't really changed my mind about anything. But hopefully that was interesting to somebody who's listening.
Fabulous. How do you define success?
I think to me being successful is having balance. Yeah, because I think that the go-to answer is success is always, I feel, to me, defined by career. So but that is what I have learned is whatever that success, whatever I have defined success, I will never attain it. Because I will do a play on Broadway and be yeah, but I still haven't done this.
Right.
And I'm sure there are actors and actresses and producers in my place who've won an Oscar and they're but then what's next?
Totally.
I don't know what the penultimate thing is.
Yes.
That's going to define success in that. So I think it's just being happy and finding that. I'll find days where I'm everything is balanced right now. I feel fulfilled in my career, in my relationship, in my family. And I've got a little bit of that fourth friendship. I've got this package right now, today.
Yeah.
I've got this today.
Yeah.
And I am living the dream.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it's about balance for me.
Okay. Lightning round.
Ooh.
Ocean or desert?
I'm telling you right now, it's not going to be. If this lightning round is anything like the beginning of this podcast, it's not going to be very fast. Well, let me think. I'm not going to answer that question. I'm going to answer a totally different question. Okay, you said ocean or desert?
Ocean or desert.
I can do that 100% ocean.
Favorite junk food?
Mac and cheese.
From where?
As
Anywhere.
long as it's covered in cheese or nachos.
Oh, movies or Broadway show?
Broadway show.
Daytime sex or nighttime sex?
Ooh, daytime.
Texting or talking?
I mean, I'm going to say texting but I wish I could say talking. But to be honest.
Cat person or dog person?
Neither. I don't want to wipe any more shit. I can't do it anymore. I'm so maxed out. I'm so maxed.
Totally. Have you ever worn a unitard?
Yeah.
Shower or bathtub?
Shower.
Ice cream or chocolate?
Ice cream.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at ping pong?
Ooh, 6.8.
What's your biggest pet peeve?
People being unkind.
If you could push a button and it would make everyone in the world 7% happier, but it would also place a worldwide ban on all hairstyling products, would you push it?
Fuck yeah. Hairstyling products? I use 0. I have no issue with that.
Superpower choice: invisibility, ability to fly, or super strength.
Oh God, invisibility. That could be such a long conversation, but I'm not going to get into it.
Yes, it really could, right? Would you rather have a penis where your tailbone is?
Okay.
Or a third eye?
Are you able to get pleasure from the? Okay.
Yes.
I don't want to sit on anything to get it though. You know what I mean? Good squats though. Or a third eye? Yeah. What's the function of the third eye?
It's just a literal third eye in your forehead.
So it improves your sight?
It can, if you want. Or it could be a spiritual thing that opens you up to.
Well, that's why am I having some kind of awakening if I have the third eye?
Let's say yes.
Because you get orgasms from your butt if you're having... I feel like there should be a balance there. I don't think I want to, you can't wear pants anymore what if you have a boner and you have it on and then you can't wear a skirt and then that's just problematic. That's more problematic than there are benefits.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say a third eye. I don't know if I even want the third eye, but if I had to choose, I would say third eye.
Got it. Okay. What was the name of your first pet?
Tiger.
What was the name of the street you grew up on?
Trimble.
So you're...
Is this my porn name or something?
Your porn name is Tiger Trimble.
Tiger Trimble. I kind of like it.
I like it. I like the alliteration of it.
Yeah. It's kind of like trembles, like Tiger trembles, but she's trembling.
Yeah. Tiger Trimble. I think she's an action hero too.
She could be.
Yeah.
With her third eye power. She could see through walls with that third eye.
Tiger Trimble, third eye. Yeah, something. There's an alliteration that we could use.
Tiger
I can't
Trimbles.
put my finger on it. Cobie, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You're the best.
You're the best.
Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. I really hope you enjoyed my conversation with Cobie. Join me again next week when we have another new exciting guest on MILF Podcast. In the meantime, you can find show notes, links to anything we talked about, and resources on milfpodcast.com, along with some other goodies. So check it out. I can't wait to talk to you guys next week again. Thanks so much for listening.